Hello, everyone. Your elite Miss Delaware Earth here. And celebrating Earth Month, I figured what better way to get the Newark, Delaware Climate Reality chapter involved, where I am your chapter chair. So if you want to sign up, inbox me, email me, or message below, and I will give you all the information. Today from the chapter, I have two seed members. Carissa, say hi.
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 All right. So before we jump into everyone's individual segment, I want to talk to you about the beauty of plants. Plants are considered a crucial part of many ways that they support the earth, our environment. They release oxygen into the atmosphere. They absorb carbon dioxide and provide habitat and food for wildlife and humans and regulate our water cycle. So plants are a pretty important part of our society. Now, me personally, I find planting so relaxing. I love this orchid. Just looking at the beautiful color schemes that it has, like it just really, really helps me when I'm feeling low. And that's why we're here today. We're here to talk about the power of plants. It can help you when you're sad, when you're happy, it just lifts your spirit. So I just wanted to come on today with my amazing team and talk to you about that. Now, the orchid is what I will be planning today. So I'm going to tell you a tiny bit about the orchid. I'm not an expert, but I'm going to tell you what I do now. The orchid is considered a symbol of love, rare beauty, strength, and wealth. And I love that. I love, that every plant has a meaning and their own beautiful way. So we're going to jump in. You can pot it two ways. First way, you can use a regular pot. Or the second way, you can upcycle materials that either you have at your home or you see, your neighbor going to the trash and you're like, hey, stop for a second. Do not throw that plastic container away. I can upcycle that. All you have to do is simply rinse the particles off and voila, you have a new pot. So I am going to loosen up the soil a bit. These are the tubes. I'm just going to loosen it up a bit and put it in. This will serve as a nursery for me because I am actually going to repot this into a bigger pot soon. And so the utensils I have today, I will post everything below. And yes, this is a bamboo spoon. I love using items that are biodegradable and recyclable. So you guys can definitely follow my Elite Miss Delaware page on Instagram and Facebook for more eco-friendly tips. And this orchid only needs about 2 ice cubes. That's about 4 tablespoons of water. And you don't want to give it too much sunlight. And it is said that they recommend the orchid being faced on the east and west side facing window for proper light exposure and to get optimum results. Another thing I love about my orchid is that it's pet friendly. I don't know about you, but I have a little guy at home. He's a Bichon, love of my life. And I just want to make sure that whatever I bring into my home, he is safe. So I did love the fact that my orchid is pet friendly. Well, there you guys have it. I'm going to pass it on over to Carissa.
So thank you, Malika. The plants I have 2 plants. I have the crispy wave fern or bird's nest fern, which is originally from Japan, but also found in some places in Europe and Asia and in the Pacific. And then I have a jade plant, who I've had this one for a little bit. So they've both been repotted, and the good thing is that you can repot them once they start getting bigger. I am definitely a low maintenance plant parent, so that's why these are both perfect for me. Or if you're also like me and you kind of need a plant that tends to stay moist soil. Water it about 1 or 2 times a week, not to the point that it's over drying or also being overwatered. So just finding that middle ground. And these plants don't like direct sunlight, but you can leave them in a room that has sunlight. Just don't want to leave them right in front of a window or anything like that. I love plants because it's a pop of color to the room, and like Malika mentioned about them purifying the air, they're especially if you can see in their little crispy, the waves part, which makes it the wavy fern, is extra beneficial for removing impurities from the air. So I like to have a lot of different little plants that are kind of low maintenance, but purify my space around me. And the jade plant is can be a symbol of good luck. So that's why I have this one here. This is usually in my living room, and this is off in the corner in my bedroom. But one thing that is really important about our plants and why we love them so much is just the interacting with a plant can reduce your physiological and psychological stress. They're adding a nice touch of color in your room, and they're purifying the air. So they're really beneficial to keep in for you. So thank you. And you, Jim?
Thanks, Carissa. Hi, everybody. Jim Petruzzi here. I'm going to follow along a little bit with that theme. I have 3 plants today I was going to bring to the group, and they are from different continents, but they kind of serve a similar purpose. And I'll talk about the aloe first, one of which I have. This is one of my aloe plants. This one's getting a little pot bound, but that's a good thing when you have an aloe. They like their roots to be kind of cramped. So I'll put it in a bigger pot soon, but I won't give it too much room. The aloe is from Africa originally. It was used by a lot of ancient cultures there. It was kept around the home for protection and to keep the good energies in and the bad energies out. It has a lot of medicinal uses too. It's strongly antioxidant, and it's a strong antibacterial. So if you had a bacterial infection, you would just take the aloe and you'd cut one of the stems and you would use the sap. Here it is. You would use that sap. You would also use it for burns, for scrapes, anything like that. It's good for the gut. It helps with constipation. It can help with skin. It can help smooth your skin for people who are getting older. A really big one, though, is it lowers blood sugar dramatically. I use it for that now, and it keeps my blood sugar down because my blood sugar is normally high. So that's the aloe. The second one comes from Europe, and that is peppermint. Now, we all know peppermint. If from nothing else, we know it from candy canes. Peppermint's been around a long, long time. It is medicinal. It's good for digestive uses again. It's good for the gut and the intestines. It relieves any kind of digestive symptoms, from gas to pain to leaky gut, which is a big problem these days. It's great for relieving tension. It's excellent to use for migraine headaches. And then the one I use it for is sinus problems. If you have sinus issues, you just take some peppermint, take the oil, there's some here, and just dab it under your nose or on your mustache if you have one like me. And just breathe it in. Put it on periodically, breathe it in. It helps to open the sinus passages and allow drainage, which can stop some of the headaches too from that. Peppermint also fights bacterial infections, much like the aloe. Spiritually, the oil is used to invigorate the being. It's especially used to invigorate the spirit. It's said to get you ready for whatever you want to do next, whatever your mission is, your cultural thing is, a prayer, a ceremony, just sitting quietly, meditation. So it is, it removes barriers to what you want to do, to whatever you want to do next, is probably the best way to put it. And the last one is from the good old North America, and the one I know the best and use the most, and that's sage. And here's our friend the sage. Sage comes all through the Americas, comes in other parts of the world too. Here in the United States, the sage in Northern California is said to be the best, the white sage. And that's the one I try to get whenever I can. Sage can be used in so many different ways. It's used a lot by our Native American brothers and sisters in all their ceremonies and everything they do to cleanse the body, If I'm not feeling myself, I'll take a little bit of white sage and stick it under the tongue. You just let it sit there. Just let it sit for a while. Take it out, put some more in if you still feel out of sorts. Sage is extremely cleansing. The other way you can use it, and this we do before we do any ceremony, is you put sage into a bowl, generally a shell. This is one of my sage bowls, and you light it without burning your finger. Ouch. You can use your hand, you can use a feather. You put the flame out, and then you allow the smoke to go all around you. You breathe it in, you put it over you. If you have people with you, you put some of it to them. If you have sacred instruments, drums, flutes, you smudge them as well, which is what this is called. Sage is to purify. Sage is to allow your spirit to be open and ready. Sage often goes along a lot with flute music. When we play the flute, we often will burn some sage in a bowl beside it. So sage is one that just has so many uses. I could sit here for 20 minutes and list all the medicinal uses, but I think you get the point. All three of these plants are easy to get. They are easy to grow. They're easy to keep around the house. They don't take a lot of maintenance. They need very little water. They need some sun, but not too much. So I would suggest, if you're starting with plants, start out with some of the easy ones, like Carissa said. Ones that don't take too much care, especially if you are blessed with more of a brown thumb than a green thumb. Plants are people too, and they need some tending. In many cultures, plants are considered the plant nation, beings by themselves. So they have all those incredible properties that Malika talked about in the beginning. So honor that when you grow your plants, and the plants will work for you. And now I think Carissa has something to say about a really useful site as far as working with plants inside.
Yes, thank you, Jim, and thank you for sharing. I'm gonna smudge my flute after this, actually. I think that's a great idea. But like Jim said, and like I said earlier, we are, for some of you who may be starting off with planting, low maintenance plants are really gonna be your best friend, your best bet. Until you kind of get the hang of it, and you can keep a few alive, or maybe you already know that that's not really your strong suit. So you want to start slow. You want to start with something that is going to be able to grow in your home or wherever you're staying, because we want it to be the best plant that it can be. So the plant, it's an app that some of you may have heard of. I actually recently just got it, called Planta. And what you can do, basically the tagline is to keep your plants alive. And it's a very simple, user-friendly app that you can take your own pictures of. I added my jade plant today, and it will give you reminders, push notifications, whatever you choose, to water, fertilize, clean, repot your plant as needed. You can tailor it to whichever kind of environment you live in, which room you're going to keep it in, if you have already repotted it, if you're going to. So it's really just answers a lot of the questions that you may have, or if you're a very beginner, or even if you do have a good green thumb and you're used to planting, there will be something in there for you that will help you, just even if it's, a reminder to, hey, have you checked on this plant? Have you fertilized? Things like that. So what you want to do is make sure you're choosing the best place for your plant to be and growing as many as possible. So thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you. Now, I wanted to tell you guys before we ended it, a fun fact about the orchid. So the orchid is very unique in the sense that it's effective at removing xylene from the air and releasing oxygen at night. It makes it the perfect bedroom plant. And I found that it's like I was just like so amazed, and I just fell in love with this orchid when I saw it. And when I found that added benefit, it just made my life like so much easier. I'm like, that is so amazing that while I'm sleeping, I'm gonna get extra oxygen now. And it's really helpful for me because I have a traumatic brain injury and cognitive concussion. And sometimes when my headache's at a level 10, it feels like someone is squeezing my brain and my brain's not getting enough oxygen. So I really love this added benefit. And for those of you out here who suffer with an illness, disability, or trouble sleeping, or you have sleep apnea and you're just like, you need that extra oxygen, an orchid is a great way to go. Carissa already gave you guys the app to download. So, make sure you download that app so you can learn more about plants and how to properly plant plants. And Jim gave us some beautiful flute music. I too might have to, when we're done this, go stage my flute. So, before I let you guys go, I did want to share a few of my eco-friendly tips to help you guys live a greener, more sustainable lifestyle. The first being reuse. It is easy to reuse things that you have at home. For example, I'm going to show you my favorite soy glass jar that I have a candle in. There is a vegan soy candle inside this jar. And when I am done with this, I am simply going to take the remaining bits out and just repot this beautiful orchid inside here. So stay tuned for the traveling pots of the orchid. And you are able to upcycle just anything you have in your home. Like, it doesn't have to go to the landfill. It is super easy to reuse any item that you have at home. All you have to do is just clean it out and get creative. And like I said earlier, if you're looking for some ideas, feel free to follow me on social media, Elite Miss Delaware, both on my Instagram and Facebook, for eco-friendly tips on how to upcycle, recycle, reduce, refuse, and reuse. And that brings me to recycle. When you are recycling items, you want to make sure that you thoroughly rinse them off so they can get to the recycle fill. If you don't, they may end up in the landfill, and we definitely don't want that. We want to ensure they get to the right facilities. So keep in mind, rinse off, then properly recycle. And last, I want you guys to reduce your carbon footprint. And a few ways that you can do that is one, by eating less meat. We have Taco Tuesdays. Make it a vegan Taco Tuesday. I love my vegan crumble. And, we have meatless Mondays. So get creative. I'm not saying you have to go vegan like I am, or even vegetarian. But if you tune in on Sundays, I will teach you how to make a vegan or vegetarian meal that you can include in your diet and live a more greener, healthier lifestyle. Another way to reduce your carbon footprint outside of eating less meat is walking and biking more. You don't have to drive everywhere. Right now, we're practicing social distancing. So instead of driving to my trash can, which, probably would be like a 2-minute drive, I take that 10-minute walk and I walk to my trash can wearing my gloves and a mask. And then I walk back. I get a good workout while doing so. I feel so refreshed and I energize, like I'm ready for the day. I even have inspired some of my neighbors who were driving to the trash can to also walk. So now we look like an unofficial pop group walking to the trash can with our trash bags and gloves. So there you have it. Your Elite Miss Delaware Earth here with the Newark, Delaware Climate Reality chapter. I hope you guys will use these tips to live a more sustainable lifestyle and have a great Earth Day. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Ciao, ciao. Arrivederci.